Hi guys, Samantha from Jessica Tutorials here, and today I'm going to show you how to create faux abalone. And I'm going for the New Zealand abalone, which has a really bright, colourful, deep, rich, colourful shell. So here are two examples of that, and that is what we're going to be creating today. So there are two methods that you can create it. You can either use the colour recipe that I provided at the beginning of the tutorial, which is using Kato concentrates. But if you can't get hold of Kato concentrates, you can also try out mica powders. Eyeshadow will also work for this. Just go with some really nice bright colours. I'll bring over the other colours in a minute. These are colours that I stock on my shop, but again, you don't have to use specific colours. Just try and get it as close as you can to what I have today. And we're going to be colouring translucent, Premo white translucent today with the mica powders. Now this is a little bit of a tedious process due to the fact that the mica powders don't stick to the polymer clay. So you're going to have to be a little patient, and it's also going to be a little messy. But you'll just fold and squish. Don't put it through your pasta machine though. Not yet anyway, because it will make a mess. And I'm just trying to pick up all those mica powders. And I'm just using a roller to help me squish this down and fold. And you'll do this with all of the colours. And I'll show you all of the colours in a moment. I'm just showing you how to mix this in. Now it shouldn't take too long. It takes about as much time as doing a normal colour recipe. It's just a little bit tedious and can be a little irritating due to the fact that, well, the mica powders don't really like being blended into the clay, and so you get all of these little pieces that don't want to stick. And this is why I'm saying not to put it in the pasta machine just yet, because you'll just get a whole bunch of little pieces all over the place when you put it in the pasta machine. First do it with your roller and get it somewhat mixed in, like that. And then you should be able to roll it through the pasta machine. Pick up the rest of the powders and then just continue to mix it in. Okay. Then when you're done, just quickly wipe up the mica powder that is left on your work surface. I'm using a glazed ceramic tile. And you should be left with a beautiful piece of clay like this. And you will be able to make mica shifts with this if you're interested in doing it. I wouldn't recommend it. The only reason I'm using these mica powders is because I'm looking for a very specific colour. Otherwise I would use just normal metallic clays. But I couldn't get the right colour with the normal metallic clays. So that's why I'm using these mica powders. Now what you'll do is you'll just grab that and fold it into a triangle, because we're going to be doing a skinner blend. And just pinch it. So if you're looking to make mica shifts and really nice ones, definitely just go with the normal metallics because it's cheaper. But with this one, because we're using specific colours, I thought it would be a lot easier to just use the mica powders instead of having to mix up very specific colour recipes. Okay, so that one, and I'll have these mica powders all listed in the video supply section, which should have gone by already. All you do is you're just going to form them together in a mica shift. You can see how beautiful and rich those colours are, and it doesn't use a lot of pigment. It uses a fair amount, but you wouldn't expect it to give this beautiful and richer colour with the amount of pigment that's actually needed. Okay, and then you have a full mica shift. A full skinner blend ready to go. So there you go, you can see all the colours. Then grab your blade. Now just trim, and let me bring that up so you can see. There. So it's sitting like that. Now cut it halfway, and then you just flip it up like that. And then let me just move these out of the way because I want to show you on this side. Trim and flip it up. Okay. And then we'll just stick these all together, and then you'll just pop it through your pasta machine and roll it like you would a normal Skinner blend. So I'll come back when this is a Skinner blend. Okay, so here is our Skinner blend. And so now you can see how beautiful that looks. It's all coloured with metallic pigments, really nice. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to create a Skinner blend plug. And so all I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold this. And I'm just going to press this all together, make sure it's nice and stuck tight. Okay, and then I'm just going to start pulling down. Hopefully you can see that. And all that's going to do is it's going to shorten the blend and start bringing it down into a square. And then you can use your roller to help move it along. But you need to get it until it's about 2.5 centimeters high. Okay, and I'm just gonna roll that. And then I want to try and get into a square. And then we will be able to add our black layer, and then we can start doing our moulds with it, so that we can create our abalone. And you can play around with the colours, maybe use some less colours than I did, maybe use some more, maybe you want to go slightly more pink and less green, or maybe you want to go more green and less pink, completely up to you. There we are, let's see, 2.5 centimeters, so it needs to go a little bit further. And I'm giving exact measurements because getting the right effect in the abalone is quite important. So I'm giving exact measurements so that you can get the exact right pattern. So 2.5 centimeters exactly. Give or take a millimeter. Okay. We're just off, just by a tiny amount. Okay, let's see now. That should be close enough. I'll just square it up again. Yeah, that's about close enough. Okay, and then you can choose excuse me, let me start that again. Don't put the black on just any side. You want to be putting the black directly on the purple, which is your darkest side, and your black sheet needs to be about 2 millimeters thick, and that is my thickest setting on my pasta machine, but it does have to be 2 millimeters thick when you put it directly onto the plug. Then just trim, and this will give you what you're going to start with to create your moulds. And if you're using the concentrate recipes, you'll just basically repeat, you'll just do the exact same thing that I'm doing over here, just replace the pigment colours with the concentrate colours. And if you're using different colour mica powders, just make sure that you put them in colours that go like a rainbow. So you put them in the right colour order. So don't do green, then purple, then blue. You want to be doing it green, blue, purple. Okay, and then I need to roll this down to about 2 millimeters thick. I'm going to partially do that with my roller, and then after that I'm going to bring over pasta machine and I'll roll it through my pasta machine. And I love these beautiful swirls with the powders. It gives you a very rich colour. So if you can't get a colour in metallics and you can't make it either, this is definitely a nice way to do it. So it's not the cheapest thing to do, but gosh, the colours you can get are really nice. Okay, now I've got a few bubbles in here, so I'm just going to take my blade and I'm going to slip these so that I can get that out. And then this is just about ready to go through the pasta machine, so I'm just going to lengthen it out. And then I'm going to reduce this down to 2 millimeters, roll it through the pasta machine, and then I'm going to stack it. Okay, now I'll just run it through. And here we are, this is what we got. I'm just going to trim up this end. And you can see what a beautiful colour that we have there. It's really, really nice. Okay, I'm just going to cut this end as well. Right, now we're going to stack this 3 times. So I'm going to cut in 3. Okay. Then we'll roll this through the pasta machine on the same setting again, just as soon as I've got these edges all tucked in. Okay, and that's almost it. We just want to cut this into 4. These edges look quite interesting. Anyway, just going to trim up those edges. You can see there how it looks. I'm just going to trim these edges as well, so we have a nice clean stack. Okay, and then I need to get that down to about 1 millimeter. Oh, excuse me, 1 centimeter. Which is about what we have. I just need to press it in a little bit more. And it needs to be at least 1 centimeter. You can make it a little bit thicker, which is what I'm going to go for. Don't go for a touch thicker. Probably about 1.5 centimeters thick. Now what I want to do is I want to use my fingers to gently squish it out of shape. Then I'll press it back together again, and that's just going to distort those layers. Then I'll roll it back down again, and I'm going to distort it again. Now I've got mica powder all over my hands, so as soon as I've finished up this plug, I'm going to go and clean them up, and then we can start creating our abalone pieces. Just need to finish this up first. And your fingers are your best tools when it comes to this. Okay, so once I've distorted it to that degree, I think that's enough. Then I'll squish it back up into about a 1.5 centimeter thick plug. Just want to get rid of these little holes. it's okay if it folds in on itself. So I'll just get this now into a nice neat plug, wash my hands, and then we can slice and see how it looks. Okay, so I've got it into a nice neat plug. Now for slicing, I've just got a nice little contraption here. I've just got a block of wood on either side and an acrylic block stuck onto the piece of wood. And this is just going to help me with my slicing, just by holding this in place. Okay, and actually just before I do that, I'm going to just squish this down a touch more. Okay. And this is just to help with the slicing so that I don't lose a whole bunch of pieces. Just press so that it's nice and stuck, and you should be ready to go. Now I'm going to see what the first slice looks like using a tissue blade, but I might want to use a ripple blade. Okay, looks pretty nice. I think I want to use a ripple blade though. So what I'll do is I'll just re-stick that, and I'll grab my ripple blade. Now we're actually going to cut this way, because I'm going to cut this way. Sorry if you can't see, but I need to be able to see. So I'm just going to cut this with my ripple blade. Okay, much better. Okay, and then just squish that down. And that should have distorted them quite a bit. And then I can just roll that flat. There we go. And this looks much better once it's baked, by the way. Okay, so I'll just continue cutting out a few slices. Okay, so I've got a whole bunch of slices. And so now all we're going to do with these is we're going to flatten each of them out. So let me just move these all out the way. And all you do is you just go take a piece of greaseproof paper. And you can use your roller if you want, but I find it's more effective to use a greaseproof paper, because then you're not thinning it out so much. You're just getting rid of any bumps. Whereas with a roller you'll be really thinning it out quite a bit. Okay, that looks really nice. Right, so that's one piece, nicely smoothed out. And I quite like that better than this one, because you've got all of those kind of drag lines which are really interesting. And so now I'm just going to run this through my pasta machine on my middle setting. Okay. And I've still got some mica powders in there, so they might get on the clay. But I'm just going to basically do that with all of my pieces. I'm going to run them through my pasta machine until they're all about the same thickness, the sheet is anyway. And then we can get on to creating our beads. Okay, so they're all rolled out. Now you want to just take your scrap from that project and just take it and roll it up so that it's all in one piece. And I want you to roll it out into a tube. And just make sure there's no holes, like this little hole there. There we are, that's better. Okay, and grab your abalone and choose the side that you like the best. I like this one because it's more blue, whereas this one's got kind of gold undertone. And roll. trim. And we're going to make as many of these as we can. And then just pinch those ends together. Okay, and I'm just going to roll to remove that seam. So roll, and then if the seam's not completely gone, just squish it back up a bit and roll again, and just repeat until that seam is nice and smoothed out, and then you should end up with a nice piece. Okay, and then roll it, and then one end just gently round, and the other end I'll do the same, but I want to taper it, so I'm just going to pinch. And then when I'm done with this, I actually want to roll each of these with my gloves so that I don't have fingerprints on them. Just taper the end and roll. And you'll just make as many of these as you can. They don't all have to be the same length. Just make a whole bunch of them. Okay, and that's what you're looking for. You might want a little bit of a sharper taper down here. Okay, quite like that. Yeah, and then just make a whole bunch of those, and I'm going to roll this with my gloves when I'm done so that I remove any fingerprints, so that we don't have to do much sanding later on. Okay, so I've just about finished all of those pieces. So here's what I have. I have these drops, which are going to be parts of the necklace, and I wanted to have a few of these off to the side as well. Now the way you make these is you just grab another little ball of clay, like before, and you would wrap your abalone sheet around it, and then just press it into a square shape rather than pressing it into this drop shape. And then make as many of those as you want. Now what I want to do is I want to create a few cabochons. So I'm just going to grab my cabochon moulds. And what I like to do is take some of that leftover clay. I'm just going to roughly sculpt it into the right shape. And that will just give me an idea of how much clay I'm going to need. Okay. Then I'll just press that back inside there. And then this leftover bits and pieces I can just press over, and that should fill up my cabochon mold quite nicely. Okay, and I should be able to see how it's looking on the back because the molds are translucent. And then I've just rolled it, and then just trim away any excess. And then just smooth out your back as well. Because it's in a mould, and so it's not going to get distorted from you doing this, so it's always best to kind of finish it off while it is in the mould. So if it needs some extra clay, add it in. Give it a good roll. Okay, that looks about ready to come out. Here we are. I've just got this one piece of clay that got on there. There we go. Off. And then any little bits that were sitting over and on the edges of your mould, you can just gently trim away. Piece of clay got there again. Here we are. There's our one mould. And I'm going to make another one, and I think I'm going to make a pair of earrings. Okay, so those cabochons are done. Now lastly, I had a look at these trimmings that we cut off of the block that we made to create the abalone, so you should remember that. And I flattened one out to see how it looked, and it created this really pretty mica shift, and I want to create a cabochon out of that. So all you do is you'll take your trimmings and just squish them like so, and then just roll to flatten it out. You should come up with a really pretty mica shift. And I just couldn't let that sit by the wayside and just, you know, get popped into the scrap heap. Just thought it looked too pretty for that. Okay, so now I'm just going to run these through the pasta machine. Just to get their thickness equal. There we go. And now all you need to do is turn them into cabochons just like before. So grab your leftover clay that is left. So very little leftover clay. I mean, all the clay that is left from this entire project is here. And we're going to basically use up these two, and we're going to use these to bulk it out. So I'll just create cabochons with these now. Right, those cabochons are done. Now lastly, we have a little bit of leftovers left. Not this one, but this one, where we just have that one little skinner blend in there. And I just wanted to see what it would look like if I just kind of roll it up. And these are just all ideas for you to play around with leftovers, and this can go towards other projects as well other than this one. This is just ideas that you can play around with whenever you have leftovers on hand. So I'll just trim off that tail end, and I think we'll get a pretty cute little nautilus out of that. Let's see. Okay, and I think I'm just going to grab this quickly with this nice back. Just going to roll that through a pasta machine. And grab this. And I just want to slice it. You can get a few slices out of this. There we go. Then we have this kind of cute nautilus shape. I'm just going to pop it on the backing here, and I'm just going to make another cabochon with this, and I'm not sure how it's going to turn out. We'll see. It might turn out really nice, or it might be average. So depending on how it looks, I might keep it or I might not. But it's worth a try. After all, we did mix up all of those pigments, so we want to save as much of this as we can. So just flatten those out. Okay, then just give it a quick run over with your roller to flatten it out. And I think I'm probably going to keep that, it looks quite cute. And these also are ideas for you to do instead of the faux abalone as well. I mean, you could stop where we had that skinner blend at the 2mm sheet, and you could just make a whole bunch of these. That would look quite cool. So I'm just going to grab another cabochon mold, and I'm just going to make a cabochon out of that. Okay, so now we are completely finished. Let me just show you how they all look now that they are finished before they go in the oven. So here is the one that we did before, just before I switched off the camera, and you can see how beautiful that looks. And you could do a whole bunch of those instead of the abalone if you wanted to. It's really interesting, really pretty. Bring that up for you to see. And this is going to look so much better once we have sanded it. So I'll just pop that on a piece of grease-proof paper, and I'll bring over the others as well. Here we are. And here are these ones, and I've decided to call them Northern Lights due to the really beautiful mica shift that we've got off of them, where they've got these almost shifting colours where they just kind of blend into each other, and just, they remind me of the Northern Lights. So I really, really like those ones, and lucky me, I got 4 of them out of that, so you can see how beautiful the scrap can end up being. Okay, then we got 4 abalone cabochons. They're looking really nice as well, and all of these are going to look stunning once they are sanded and buffed. And I might actually put just a thin layer of UV resin over them just to finish them off. But I just want to show you all of them before they go in the oven, because they change quite dramatically once they go in the oven, because that translucent will clear up and you'll be able to see them a lot better. Okay, then we have these almost like abalone nuggets, and these little pieces of abalone. So just go over, make sure you're happy with them, they're all the right size, and we will put them in the oven, and I'm going to bake them for a full hour at Premo's recommended temperature, and then when they're done we will get onto sanding, and there's going to be a fair amount of sanding. These ones I probably am just going to put a coat of UV resin over them. They should be just fine like that. These ones I'll go see if I can sand. I might just put UV resin over those as well, because the UV resin does a pretty good job of hiding fingerprints. But those cabochons I want to see if I could just keep them sanded and buffed, because that always looks really nice. But sometimes the sanding just takes too long, and it is worth it to just pop the UV resin on. So I'll go and bake these, and then I'll show you what they look like when they're baked. Okay, so they are out of the oven, and I've sanded all of the cabochons apart from the one, and I'm going to show you how to sand this one quickly. And all you're going to do is you're going to grab some wet dry sandpaper, and I'm going to start with a 400, and I've wet these already, and just sand them. Don't be too aggressive though, because we've got a thin layer of the coloured clay on here, and if you are too aggressive with it, you can break through and expose the underlying layers, which is okay, but not ideal. So just be a little bit careful. You don't want to be too aggressive, especially on the lower grits like the 400 there. Then I'll move on to 600. And again, sand the front and each of the sides. And this is just going to remove all those fingerprints, and it's going to smooth out. Then we'll move on to the 800. And then finally, after we're done with the 8, we will move on to our final sandpaper, 1200. And that's as high as I tend to go with the wet dry sandpaper, especially if I'm putting resin on. If I'm not putting resin on, then I like to end with the wet dry sandpaper here, and I'll move on to my polishing papers. So let me just go clean that up and I'll show you how it looks. And here's how they should look once they are sanded. And you'll see they have lost a lot of their sheen due to the fact that we have sanded them on a fairly coarse grit. And so if you wanted to take them to a buff, which I will probably do with some of them, you would take them up to the higher sandpaper. Now I just want to see how they look if they are buffed at this point in time. So I'm using a Dremel 3000 and I'm just going to buff them up. So we just get a good grip on it. So you can see even at this rough stage you can get a fairly nice satin finish on them. So you can see that clears it up a little bit. But for now I am going to sand them up using my polishing papers. And as for our other beads, which I'm just keeping in here, we are not going to sand them because it's going to be a lot of trouble to sand them. I'm just going to drill them and then we're going to put some UV resin on them. So here are the polishing papers, and they go from 400 all the way up to an 8000. And so just like before, let's do this one. You'll just take them, and sorry it's blurred up there, there we go. You'll just take it and you'll sand each of the sides, starting with your lowest grit, and you'll sand the front, and then you'll work your way up all the way to your 8000. And I'll show you how those look when we're done. Okay, and here is how it should look after you're done with your polishing papers. I haven't buffed it or anything, this is just from the polishing papers. And so you can see by sanding with, so here are the three stages. You have the one that is sanded with the wet dry sandpaper. Then it is buffed, and you can see it comes out with a nice satin shine, but it's nowhere near as good a shine as you could get. And then you would sand with your polishing papers, and you can see that even the finish with that, it's not even been buffed yet, is better than the buff on the one that has been buffed after the wet dry sandpaper. So I highly encourage going up to an 8000 if you can, as far as sandpaper goes, because you just get a much better finish. Now we are going to buff, and it's going to look really nice. So again, and here is the buff you're going to get, and it just looks really nice. So let's compare those two buffs. There's no comparison whatsoever. Now if you want to take it up even shinier, you can use some Renaissance wax. And here is the Renaissance wax. Just open that up, it's just a little bit of wax. Just grab a bit, and it's going to dull it up again. Don't worry. Just rub it on and just scrape off any excess, just because you don't want extra and you don't need it. There we go. Now we are going to grab our buffing wheel again, and again turn down your volume, it's a fairly loud process, and we're going to buff. Okay, and that is the finish you should get. A smooth, glossy, luxurious finish that just brings out all those colours. I love how the micas are just shifting in there, and oh, it's just really, really beautiful. It's almost like it's got a light inside there that's just shining. So I'm going to do this with all of these cabochons. I'm not going to cover them with resin. And then with the other ones, these ones, they would just take so long to sand, and you wouldn't be able to get a very good sand unless you spent hours on it. So in this case, it is better to forfeit the sand and buff for a UV resin coat, because it does a pretty good job. It's not as nice as the buff in my opinion, but it does a pretty good job, and especially if you're selling jewellery, sometimes you have to go for the quicker method. But anyway, I just want to show you these two next to each other. There's no comparison. This one looks absolutely stunning. So I'm gonna sand these ones, and then we will buff them, and then we can drill the others. Okay, so I've gone ahead and drilled pretty much all of these because I want to put the UV resin on them while I'm busy sanding the other beads, mainly because the UV resin just needs to set a little while. So all you do to drill is you'll take your pin drill, set it in your bead, whoops, and then just press and start drilling. Now I've already pre-drilled this somewhat just to speed up the process, but you'll basically just carry on drilling until you pop out the other side. And you'll do that with all of your pieces, which I have done. Okay, and they've still got a little bit of water on them. Okay, so you'll take one and just make sure that it is dry. And I've got a piece of wire ready to go because we need to suspend these below my UV lamp. So what I've got is I've got the UV lamp propped up on 2 blocks of wood, and then one of those blocks of wood is sticking, 2 of those blocks of wood, so we have the UV lamp, then the 2 blocks of wood, and I've got another little block of wood laying on those blocks of wood, and then another few blocks in the middle so that I can suspend the wire under the UV lamp so these can hang nicely while I am putting the UV resin on them. Now I just need to straighten this out a bit. There we go. And just string that on. There we go. Okay. And actually, instead of doing this one, I'm going to do these because they're easier to use. So just string on a whole bunch of them onto your one bit of wire. Okay, and I've just got those lined up on a piece of wire, and so now what we're going to do is I'm just going to elevate it so that I'm not going to be touching it or anything like that while I'm using the UV resin, and I'm using Tiny Pandora Deep Shine. going to hold that. I'll just brush that on. You can see it makes it look really nice. Don't forget to get around these edges as well. And then you'll do that for all of them, and then you'll just pop them into the UV lamp. Just check that you got everything. Okay, and you can see how beautiful and shiny that is. So I'll go and repeat with the other ones. And then I'll do that with the daggers as well, and then when they're done, I will pop them into UV lamp for about 5 minutes. Okay, and here are all of our pieces, and they are beautiful now that they are finished. So we now want to start stringing them, and I just want to mention, instead of using UV resin for these, you can also use Varathane. That would work as well. So these we're pretty much done with. I'll give you a close-up look of those in a little while, but for these we want to arrange into our necklace. So I know that that's my middle one, and these are my two somewhat longer ones. Oh, that's the longest one. No, but this one was the middle one because it's fattest. Okay, those ones, and these, and then finally these. And then you also want to match up your cubes, because some of them are going to be smaller than others. There you are, those two go together, those two go together, and those two all go together. Okay, and I generally like to start with the smallest ones and then work my way up. Okay. Then you're going to need a piece of Accu-flex, like I have here, and around 18 inches will do. You can go 16 or you can go 20, but I find 18 is about the average. 2 charlotte crimps. I think they're also called clam shells. Then 2 crimps. And if you don't want to find all of these findings, I also sell a necklace kit on my Etsy shop, Jessica Design, where I have all of these findings in one kit ready to go. So you'll have 2 crimp beads, 2 Jumprings, 2 charlotte crimps, and a clasp, and a 18-inch length of Accu-flex. So all you do is you take your charlotte crimp, then a crimp, and only string the crimp on a little way. Squish that crimp close to the end of the cord. Bring your charlotte crimp back up and over your crimp. Squeeze your charlotte crimp closed. Grab a jump ring. And then let's see, I need a clasp quickly. There you go, that will do. I'll just put the end of the clasp on there. There we go, and that's your one end. Then just pop these off to the side, that will be afterwards. And now I'm going to say that this will probably go about the whole length of my necklace. So I need 2 little crystal beads and 1 shell bead. So then I'm going to go crystal, if I could get it through the hole, then 1 shell. You might need to push it through a little. these shell beads can be a little on the tricky side, so just need to go and find one that has a nice enough hole for me to use. I think this one will work. There we go. Some of them are better than others. There we go. String that up. Add the crystal bead. Then one of our abalone squares. And then repeat the pattern all the way up your necklace. Okay. And I've just finished, and now I've swapped out the shells for little hishe beads because I just think that those looked better. And I've also decided to trim it down to just 2 cubes. Okay, now I'm just going to string on a charlotte crimp. And our crimp. Bring that right down, squish, trim, and then close that crimp, charlotte crimp, over your crimp. Grab a jump ring, put that through the loop, bring over your other clasp piece and close. And that is all you need. Very quick, very easy. Let me just bring that over for you so you can see. Okay, and I've made it 16 inches because that's how wide my neck is. So I want to wear this one. But you could make it 18 inches. Just make it the length that your neck is, or however long you want to make it to sell it. If you're selling it, I'd probably make it about 18 inches, which is about the standard length. But if you wanted to make it longer, just add more of these little square beads and then you'll be able to make it any length you want. So I quite like that. And now let me just bring over these cabochons so you can get a nice close-up look at each of them. It looks so much better now that they've been sanded and buffed. It just brings out all of those colours, and this one I really like because it looks like it's got a divot here and a divot here because of the way the Mica garnet has been sliced, but it's completely smooth. I really like that. And these ones just remind me of the Northern Lights. They're really, really pretty. And so you can take this tutorial and you can play around with it quite a bit. You can exclude some of the colours, like maybe you want to exclude that apple green and then you'll lose the gold and you'll have a bit more of a blue colour. Maybe you want to exclude more of the blue so you get more of a greeny gold sort of effect. It's completely up to you. Just have some fun with it, see what you can make. You don't even have to make the faux abalone, you could just make those, which are really nice. These depend on your Mica garnet sheets. You could make a bunch of those as well. And in general, the tutorial is just very versatile. You can do a lot with it. So play around with it, have fun, and if you do make stuff, please do send in the photos. If you're watching this on Patreon, I do have a group. If you haven't joined the group already, please do. And if you can't find the link to the group on Patreon, just comment below this video and I'll leave a link to it below your comment. So check that out. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I have a general group on Facebook and that should be in the links below this video, so check that out. So you can post your photos over there because I really enjoy seeing your guys' photos. And as always, I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.